So in this video, we're taking a look at the 7 things that you shouldn't do with your money after you get paid. And previously on this channel, we discussed the 7 places you may want to put your money after you get your paycheck. Today, we're flipping it around and talking about those things that you might want to avoid. And look, we all know the obvious ones like don't spend too much money or don't gamble your money at a casino. Those are very obvious things that you should not be doing, and hopefully you're not doing at the moment when you get paid. Let's talk a little bit more in depth. Hopefully some of these are going to be things that maybe just haven't crossed your mind or you haven't heard of in quite some time. So let's just get started with this video. But if you're new here to the channel and you want to see more videos like this one, make sure you're subscribed and drop a like on the video for more videos like this one. So let's just get started here. Let's talk about the first one, which is don't accept the initial salary that's offered to you when you're applying for a job. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. And look, if you already have a job, you also can consider asking for a raise. We'll talk about both of those in the next 30 seconds here. But when it comes to getting jobs, especially in America, the unemployment rate at the moment, it's 3.7%. That's the lowest it's been in about 50 years. So what this means is that there's a lot of employers looking for employees, but not enough people to fill those jobs because it's such a low unemployment rate, which means that people like you and me, we have the upper edge when applying for jobs at the moment in a very good economy. So what this means is that we can ask for a higher salary than what they might offer us. And I think a lot of people just kind of get offered, say that you get offered $42,000 per year for a job and they just automatically take it. Now, unless it's this case where there's no other jobs in a 100-mile radius, you absolutely need this job or you want this job because you love what they're doing here, then maybe just consider accepting the job. But in other cases, you can kind of pit companies against each other and say, you know what, you're offering 42,000, I need 44, I need 45,000, maybe I need more vacation days. So just start to negotiate a little bit more when applying for jobs. And if you already have a job, which chances are you probably do, then consider asking for a raise. It's incredible how many people I meet when I ask them, I say, when was the last time you got a raise from your job? And sometimes it's been 5 years, 10 years, even 15 years. People don't get raises because they just don't ask for them. And there's that comment saying that if you don't ask for it, you don't get it or something. I don't know what the words are behind it, but it's very true. Look, so consider going into work tomorrow or sometime this week and just saying, hey, I'd like a raise. I think I've been working pretty hard around here. I think I've been producing a lot of stuff for the company. So can I have a raise? Maybe $1 an hour, $2 an hour more per hour. And you'll see just how many times people actually get raises simply from just asking for a raise. Now, chances are you're probably not going to get fired. You have very little to lose when asking for it. If you do get fired, I'm sorry. This isn't advice. This is just an opinion here. This is just some ideas. But that's something that you might want to consider doing actually before you get paid, is asking for a raise and negotiating your salary in terms of your salary and your employment with your employer. Let's talk about the next one here. It's one that's fairly predatory. I really don't like this, and people should try to avoid this at all costs, and that is by taking advantage of predatory loans, which would be something like payday loans. Okay, so payday loans, the problem with this, and look, I see these ads everywhere. Maybe you see these too, where maybe there's an ad of somebody at a gas station and they're saying, hey, I'm buying gas now, but I don't get paid till Thursday. Today's Monday, but I'm buying gas with my paycheck that I got a payday loan from this fancy little app. We're not going to name brands here, but essentially, this is a very poor financial decision. You're essentially getting someone to front you money for money that you should be making on that specific day. So if you get paid on Thursday, but you're buying something on Monday because you had to get a loan for it, it's just not a good decision all around the board. You're probably getting some money shaved off the top of that. And look, if you can't afford to buy something now because you have no money in your bank account, then a payday loan, it's just such a short-term solution. It's not going to help you in the long term. It's going to make you even poorer than what you may be at the moment. So if you want to go to a football game this weekend, but you have no money in your bank account, so you get this payday loan app, like I said, we're not going to name companies here, and you can get your paycheck up front that you're supposed to get in a week or in 2 weeks, and they're going to shave some money off the top of that. You want to go to this football game, $150 for a ticket. Maybe you just shouldn't go to the game. Maybe you should find a way to start saving money so that you can go to the next game instead of using this simple, quick solution of a payday loan. So just try to avoid those at all costs. I really don't like them. I feel like they're fairly predatory and they're just not a good thing to be a part of. So the next one here that I wanted to share with you is just spontaneous purchases all around. So what I like to do here in most cases is, let's say that you get paid $2,000 every other week. So you're making $52,000 per year. You get $1,000 per week, but it's paid every 2 weeks on a Thursday, let's say. I don't know why they're always on Thursdays, but a lot of people get paid on those days. So let's say that you get your money, $2,000 lump sum, in your bank account, a lot of people will go out and they'll start buying these big things. Maybe they buy a season pass to a ski resort, or they go out and buy a snowboard. Try not to make these spontaneous purchases when you get this money, but rather spread it out over the next couple of weeks that you're using this money until you get your next paycheck. A lot of people run into those problems where they just make these spontaneous purchases. The best way to combat this is to use something that we call the 24-hour rule. It's so simple, but it really does save so much money. I use it all the time, where let's say that you want to maybe buy a season pass to a ski resort. I know winter's coming up here, and it's a very large amount of money. Let's say it's $1,000 for the season pass. It's a really nice resort. $1,000, you want to buy it. Think about it for at least 24 hours, maybe 48 hours, and then you might change your mind on it. I know for myself, I found myself, once I stopped myself from making spontaneous purchases, especially online, it's so easy to make purchases online. You can buy a new laptop in the next 30 seconds right now after this video if you wanted to, by just putting in your credit card information, go on Amazon, and you're done, right? So just try to think about this for a little bit longer, at least 24 hours, and then you might start to change your mind and say, wow, what was I thinking yesterday about trying to buy this $1,000 item? I can't afford that. Probably not a good financial decision for the long term. So just make sure that you're doing that. All right, so another thing that you should not do when you get paid is signing on the dotted line too quickly. Now, when I say this, maybe you think about car loans, maybe you think about some type of home mortgage, just signing away on a legal document, but I'm also referring to things like, say you're renting a home somewhere and your landlord presents you with a 40-page lease that you have to sign. Most people will just breeze through it, sign the line, because they just don't feel like reading through all the technicals of this entire packet of this legal document. But this is a legal binding document that you need to be very aware of what's inside of there. I've seen landlords slip in some very, very clever, tricky clauses within there that can end up really screwing you over. You're shooting yourself in the foot by not reading it over. So make sure that whether you are going to rent something, you're going to buy something, any type of legal document, maybe just make sure that you are not just breezing through it very quickly, but make sure that you're actually reading what's inside of there. And if you're getting a car loan, I'm not a big fan of car loans, but they're generally pretty low, 3, 4, 5%, sometimes even lower. But if you're going to get a car loan, make sure that you're understanding everything behind that, the interest rates behind that, instead of just the payment. A lot of car dealerships will just present you with the monthly payment instead of actually talking about the interest rate. So make sure that you're just reading all of that over very, very carefully, and it's going to end up saving you a lot of headache in the future. Trust me, I've signed leases in the past where I was just too lazy, or I was in a rush, and I said, you know what, I don't have time to read over this, but I trust you, the landlord, to make sure that it's fine. So I just signed away, and I ended up really hurting myself and losing a lot of money. I mean, a couple $100, but it was still a lot of money to me when I was in college. So that's something you want to be very aware of. And the next one here is actually just eating out at restaurants. So once you get your paycheck, if you go out to restaurants, and I actually saw a video just the other day, I think it was from 2 Cents from PBS, very good channel, but they talked about how eating out keeps you poor. And you know, there's actually a lot of truth to this video. There really is. That if you go out to a restaurant, say you go out once a week, you spend $70 per week eating out at a pretty nice restaurant, maybe with your family, with your friends, there is certainly something nice about that. It's nice to have the atmosphere, to get very nice food made for you. But if you're doing that too often, especially if you find yourself in a financial pinch or in a position where you're not able to save as much money and you're kind of wondering where you can start cutting back on, think about cutting back on food that you're going out to eat, because this is really a depreciating asset. Once you eat your food, it's totally gone, and you're not going to have any value after that. So that's just something that you do want to be very careful of, how often you're actually eating out versus how much food you're making at home. I can end up spending $30 or $40 per week on groceries for the entire week because I'm buying the right things that I'm able to really stretch pretty far without sacrificing health, without sacrificing the amount of food that I'm eating, just by simply going to the right stores, buying the right foods, and getting them for relatively inexpensive amounts of money. So number 2 is paying for overpriced information. Now, we could refer to a variety of different things within this point here. One of them being online courses that are multiple thousands of dollars. You're paying $2,000 for an online course or a digital program that shows you how to save money, when you could just go to your free local library and learn as much as possible from that for totally free. You could watch videos like this, you could read blog posts. There's so much free information out there. I just don't like spending money on education. Now, college is obviously something that's very expensive in the United States that I paid quite a bit of money for, but there's still cheaper options for college as well. What I did is I tested it out on a lot of subjects and got credits for that using, it's called the CLEP, C-L-E-P, for testing out of college classes and getting credits for it. And there's a lot of different things you could do to save money on education. I just really don't like paying for information. There's so much out there for absolutely free that you'll never be able to get to all of it. I mean, there are thousands of books in the library, and you'll never be able to get to all of them. So that's why I just don't pay for anything. That's why we don't sell anything on this channel. We don't sell online courses, programs, anything, because I just don't believe in them. I don't think that they are, in most cases, I don't think that they're worth it. Now, there are some that maybe if they're showing you how to do something that's really difficult to find exactly how to do it, say some people like Graham Stephan, some really good courses, me, Kevin, some really good courses on real estate, then maybe that's something that you could consider spending a little bit of money on, a couple $100s on. But I think the ones that are thousands of dollars, I'm just not a big fan of them. This is somewhat opinionated. Maybe you've bought them in the past and you've done really well with them, but I think one of the best ways to learn is just through your own experience and through free information, because there is so much of it out there. And the final one here, maybe you have heard of this one before, and we tend to end a lot of our videos like this, but it's just so important. It's just thinking about every item that you're purchasing, what's the value of that item in the next couple of years, and how much value does it hold? So looking at depreciating assets, anything that rusts, rots, or depreciates, I try to avoid buying those. Now, obviously, you have to buy food, and if you spend $100 this week on food, next week that food's going to be worth nothing because you ate it, or it went bad, or it rotted, so it's not going to be good anymore, right? You have to make those purchases. But there's other things in life where maybe you're thinking about, should I buy this car? Should I buy this snowboard? Should I buy this jet ski, right? What's the value of it? This is what I do every time I make a purchase, especially a purchase that's over, say, a couple $100s. I'll kind of track the value of these items and say, well, if I buy this car today, what's it going to be worth in 5 years? And chances are it's going to be worth about 65% less than what it's worth today. So if I pay $20,000 for a car today, it might be worth about $13,000 if I did that math right, $13,000 in the next 5 years. So just kind of make sure that you're able to find which items are depreciating and which ones are not depreciating. If you're buying, say you're buying something that's a gold bracelet that's 24 karat gold bracelet that you might pay $1,500 for today, what's the value of that going to be in 5 years? Probably, in most cases, it's going to hold its value better than something like something that depreciates very, very quickly. So that's just something that I wanted to mention. So if you found any value in this video, make sure you drop a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see everybody in the next video.